Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst of Lists. The finest in worst of lists anywhere throughout the internet. The paragon of the industry. My name is Pat Myback. And I'm here to take you on a tour of the human brainstem as we prattle on and on about an extraordinary top 10 topic of worst things in the category of top 10 worst random examples of Bulldink. What an incredible, I'm so excited for you, the viewer, the royal we. But before we get to that, I got a bit of a checklist that I'm obligated to indulge upon. Number one, I am nuts. I'll give it to you. Probably something you can figure out for yourselves. Because of that, I cannot be trusted or relied upon, which is, as I've mentioned before, a good thing. Because in today's day and age, if you're trusting any resource that's telling you something, you're fooling yourself. You're going to be victimized. Because 9 times out of 9 times, you're going to be lied to. And I don't care if it's mainstream media or Breitbart or alt-right media or somebody that you saw on TikTok or somebody that you bumped into and had a brief little chat with when you were on a airplane sitting next to them on your way to Vegas for a bachelorette party. I don't care. They're all lying to you, or they're all delusional victims. Period. End of story. Everybody. Now, I would say that about myself, but I have a fairly decent track record of being right on the money for a lot of this type of stuff. I've done it for a very long time. I've researched quite a bit. I've looked at life at both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow those cloud illusions I can't recall. I really don't know clouds at all. But I do know top 10 dental hygienists. Is that what today's is? Top 10 worst dental hygienists. Number 1. Thanks. Pleasure. Thanks for watching. Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Number 2, I'm not partisan. I'm not going to be partisan. I'm not going to join your little clique because invariably what people are doing now is they're looking to paint the other end of the aisle that they don't dig with the broad brushstrokes. And what that is the precursor to hardcore bigotry. I'm not going to play it anymore. It's clear that what they're doing is, Machiavelli 101, and this guy came up with the stuff back in like 1400s or whatever. And if you're still falling for the same damn scam 700 years later, that's on you, buddy. I'm not going to validate your delusional behavior. There's hateful, belligerent, violent people and stuff like that I'm not talking about here. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is just the rank and file, because fair enough that you want to hate somebody, and I welcome you to it. Who am I to say? But I know everybody wants a better life for their kids than they have for themselves. I know that everybody wants some tasty jams. I know that everybody wants to have a good time and, laugh and Everybody wants to have good friends. Because tonight is kind of special. The beer we'll pour must say something more, okay? I know that everybody wants their beer, when they pour it, to say something more. We share so much more than that separates us. And we could clear up a lot of the big ones without the type of horrific partisanship that's been instilled into us. Maybe all the craziness that's going down, maybe it'll lead to something better. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of TV shows and stuff that I've seen where a lot of the main characters, they whispered for dramatic effect when they don't have any real acting chops. I saw your sister yesterday. I saw your wife yesterday hanging out with her pool cleaner in the boudoir. I have no acting chops. So if you don't take it really low and soft, if I talk like this, you'll think that I have really serious acting chops. Another one that they do to mimic the idea of acting chops is in the close-ups, they show their eyes darting back and forth. Like they're looking in somebody else's eyes so intently that their eyes are shifting the minute their co-actor in the scene's eyes are shifting. So they'll have a big close-up in the face and be like, oh, look at my eyes are shifting. I must be super intense, very connected actor. Giving to the scene. Not that they're good actors, but they're giving to the scene. They're very giving, generous actors. Where was I? All right, so screw you if you don't, if you can't dig it, man. Because, the human race is done. It's a done deal. There's nothing worth keeping it around for. The AI robots are going to come wipe us off the map. Period. End of story. And, you can do it with it what you will. But for my money, I'd be looking to kind of make sure my affairs are in order. Oh, they are. I mean, obviously, look at me. Do you think I'd go for a single minute without my will, last will and testament altogether? I go to the doctor's office and they're scared. They look at me and they're like, I was told this, that they're scared that I'll drop dead on the way to the examining room. There's so many things in my life. I should do a top 10 worst of things that suck in my life. I could bump that up to top 100. Where was I? Oh, yeah, so you're going to think that this list has not got anything to do with anything. And is completely made up and stupid. Just like my... my love life. And... but, this list that came up this list in collaboration with a team of horse whisperers who gathered together with me outside of the Seattle Space Needle and come up with these lists while taking copious doses of what's that medicine they get for the herpes? Valtrex? Valtrex mixed with angel dust. Before we hit it, God, it's the worst part of the whole damn thing. It's time for the commercial sponsors. Yes. From the Hunchback of Notre Dame comes the new movie, The Hatback of Notre Dame. A thing, you can figure the rest of it out for yourself. When Harry met Sally Struthers, she actually... Lawrence of Arabia, by the producers of the movie Lawrence of Arabia. And finally, we're in part underwritten by Lord of the Drug Rings? No. I'd say another D minus. All right, so top 10 worst random examples of Bulldink. So what is it going to do? Yeah. 10 top random examples of Bulldink. Here we go. Number 10. The Edge's hairline / beanie cap from U2. You know, the Edge is the guitar player from the band U2. I know that's easy pickings when it comes to lambasting this band. But what's up with it's like about, how long has it been? It's been like, something like the latter days. This sort of like the peak level of MTV when Edge started to wear a knit stocking beanie cap all the time to everything. Black tie affairs, they're in the band's in a tuxedo, and Edge is in a tuxedo with a beanie cap. It's sad in many respects that they haven't been able to figure out something better to do that's less embarrassing than the stocking knit cap. And you're looking at the Edge and kind of going like, Edge, you've lost your edge. They should call him, I don't know, absent. There's no edge. If no edge, not edgeless. Edge would be nothing, right? There's no edge left. It's just void. They should call him void. Hi, I'm Bono. I'm the world's most prolific and powerful arbiter of morality. And then next you got, hi, I'm Edge. Oh, no, I'm Void, the artist formerly known as Edge. Maybe call him Wedge. That'd be funny. Like a wedgie. Hi, I'm Wedgie. That would fit. But what is up with that thing? We all know what's going on. Look, I'm not proud of what's going on. The foam dome, the upper forehead region. I just got less covering on the top of my forehead than the North Pole has with a post's climate change polar ice cap. Enough said. Next, number 9 of the top 10 worst random examples of Bulldink. The Robert Mueller-Wilmer Hale connection. Now, look, they went through 2 years of this frickin' Russiagate investigation. This is, you really got to look at all of the... Why would anybody allow for the fact that the government is the only organization that we've allowed to investigate all of these life-changing tragedies that the government was likely took a part in and or maybe did completely by themselves, and where the people who benefited from the crimes were the government themselves? Why would anybody want to do that? It's like telling Al Capone, hey, look, Al, we're kind of busy with stuff. We're wondering, if we gave you a blank check, could you go out and investigate yourself on the tax fraud thing, tax evasion thing? Because it's like, whatever you come up with, that's fine, so long as it doesn't, incriminate yourself. I don't know. But the fact is that we do. Where do you start? Gulf of Tonkin, I guess. Nobody... They just came out and told us that the Gulf of Tonkin, there was an attack by the North Vietnamese and stuff like that. But we don't know any of the results of an independent investigation of that. We know what the government told us about the investigation of that. But this is the same government, quite frankly. You remember John McCain? Any of you foam domes out there? Remember John McCain, who's the guy who had a senator and he was responsible for the Keating Five crimes, I guess. I don't know, that almost destroyed the country, almost destroyed the whole goddamn country, the Keating Five banking scandal. And then after that, he was the guy who blocked the Martin Luther King Day from becoming a state holiday in Arizona, allegedly twice, I think. And then who else was... he had tons of houses all over the place, and he's the one who basically created MAGA when he picked up Sarah Palin, who was, a mouth-breathing brainstem from day one, and made her his vice presidential candidate. So this is a guy, a real high level. Oh, he was also the guy who said that famously at a public dinner said that, I don't know, it was a joke about Chelsea Clinton when she was 16 years old or something like that, about Janet Reno and a gorilla being her real father and mother or something. I can't remember exactly. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Sorry about that too. But that's part of, what they were. There was a famous, he did it at a fundraiser, a public fundraiser, and he told that joke. There's a real joke there. I apologize for not paraphrasing it properly, but it's really sick and pathetic. He was responsible for that too. But I think that the one that's least publicized, and for reasons I will enumerate for you, he was the son of the head of all United States Armed Forces in the Vietnam theater during the Vietnam War. Plus, he had already been plucked out of the wreckage of a plane crash and been made a prisoner at the infamous Hanoi Hilton prior to his father having been getting named as the head of all U.S. fighting forces in Vietnam. Now, let me ask you something. I've seen like 70s sitcoms. I've seen the most famous one is Beverly Hills Cop, where the irascible desk sergeant says, "Actually, you're too close to this one," when Axel's best friend gets murdered as the jumping off point for Beverly Hills Cop 1. And says, "Axel, I don't want you messing around with this case. You're too close. It's too personal." And they can do that in like a stupid-ass sitcom, but when it comes to real life, where things actually count and people's lives aren't as disposable as Hollywood wants us to think that they are, we get Axel Foley being held off from participating in the case, but we get John McCain's father actually pushed into being the head of all U.S. fighting forces in Vietnam, even though his son had been taken hostage. Now, it doesn't get any more personal than that. What the hell were they thinking? Putting him in charge? The only thing I can think of, and I'm happy to entertain anybody who has any kind of other rational explanation for why this would have happened, that other than that they put McCain's father into the role of running all of the military for the Vietnam War, specifically because they could blackmail him into losing it, making it look good, but still losing it, because they were really cooperating with the NVA, and they had his son held hostage, and it was the U.S. who was involved. I don't know how else you could possibly come up with any kind of rational idea as to why he could have been named the head of the U.S. fighting forces after they already had his kid in prison. I don't know, man, but it seems fishy. So, I mean, all this goes on and on and on. We've got Of course, the Warren Commission was made up of Earl Warren, who was Nixon's best friend, Gerald Ford, who gave Nixon his pardon, Allen Dulles, who who got fired by Kennedy a few months before the Warren Commission was formed. You got, Hale Boggs, who was a Dixiecrat-ish type of a guy, but he actually was starting to kind of get ready to talk about things. He started to talk about things publicly a little bit more. And then he has a mysterious assassination via mysterious plane crash for him. And he, of course, I think is the father of Cokie Roberts, the reporter. And she certainly didn't investigate any of that. She didn't have time, I guess, from being a mouthpiece for the aristocracy. I don't remember. It was like 5-4 of. It was more Republicans than Democrats, which is already weird. And the Democrats that they chose were Dixiecrats, who hated all the Northerner Democrats to begin with. It was a hostile group of people who hated Kennedy, every single one of them. And like you're looking at it going, like, how could the people in the 60s have not seen any of this? They were so riddled with grief, I guess, that they couldn't, pay attention to anything political. It was just too hard for them. I don't know. But, you throw in an Allen Dulles in there who'd just been fired by Kennedy, and it's hard to imagine that people, maybe, America just still had, overinflated view of itself and its moral compass and let them off the hook. I don't know. But then you go to, obviously the Vietnam War, the Kennedy assassination, were all, people must have been on drugs to think that wasn't a crime worth pursuing there. And then LBJ quits the presidential race in 1968, in March of 1968, just a few months basically before the convention, and 5 months maybe before the election, and leaving them flat-footed. I don't really, again, I can't really explain that with any rational. How does how did and then Iran Contra, where obviously, Ollie North, who was like a low-level administrator in the NSA, could not possibly have come up with this multi-billion-dollar scheme to put the Israelis and the Iranians together in a room to sell weaponry to. So you got Israel and Iran, who above board are talking about how much they want to wipe each other off the map, and behind the scenes they're trading arms to each other, and then Israel's taking the profits from selling arms to Iran and giving them to the Nicaraguan Contra rebels. And then you had a big, huge investigation that led to nothing. And the presidential pardons, employed to make sure that we get nothing. And it's just, it's one thing after another of 9/11, obviously an inside job, obviously a joke. And again, I'm not calling, I've said this before, but I'm not calling conspiracy theories is now officially an antiquated term. From now on, it's reality check. Because, there's just so much that runs counterintuitive to what people have been force-fed to accept as the obligatory truth for all of these gigantic crimes that various members of the government should have been thrown under the jail for is it's just insane to think about. But but when it comes to Robert Mueller and Wilmer Hale, that was a law firm immediately prior to Robert Mueller becoming, I guess he's, what do they call it? Grand Inquisitor? I don't know. But immediately prior to the job that he held prior to becoming Grand Inquisitor of the special investigator for the Russiagate. Sorry, his job previous to that was to be an attorney at the law firm of WilmerHale, which represented at that time Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort. So, and I don't know, you might know how lawyers, law firms operate and stuff like that, but once you're represented by a law firm, they pretty much kind of work in conjunction with each other to get little bits and pieces. And if you look at their advance bills and stuff like that, they'll likely have a lot of those things kind of sitting down around the side or whatnot, and trying to share with the blame / glory of the outcomes of things, of cases. And Robert Mueller worked for WilmerHale. So Robert Mueller was basically Trump's lawyer, the Trump family lawyer. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I'm not thinking that you're exactly going to be getting objective opinions here, or investigations for, you know, who knows what level biopsy, triopsies, so any doity. So look, hey, that stuff's right out there, right out in the open. And so, you know, kind of your fault for letting that one slide. Because, you know, I think that if people would have known on a widespread level that Robert Mueller was the lawyer at the law firm that represented Trump, I think it would have probably seen a lot less patience with that situation and would have gotten him thrown out. And without somebody who was obviously complicit with the Trump family agenda, that whole thing, it's so goddamn obvious. And then we see court case after court case complaining. People be complaining about the persecution of Trump and everything like that, but nothing ever sticks. The Democrats, through their incompetency, can't get either one of the impeachments to work. I mean, I don't see why they ever thought that they could. At the time, they were facing a heavy majority control of the government at the time. In the Senate, where they would have needed to have gotten 60 votes in order to be able to pass it. There's no way they were getting 60 votes. It's just the stupidest thing in the world to waste our time and get people excited about it and then see the whole thing evaporate. It just adds to the whole mythos of the absolute, complete, impotent garbage that the Democratic Party has intentionally resigned itself towards becoming, but I just don't, I just don't get it. I don't even know. They'll probably have her, have him cremated before they can do any kind of autopsy on him, and so on and so forth. Number 8 of the top 10 worst examples of random Bulldink: Chris Brown's career. Now, Chris Brown is some, jerk off nobody that they manufactured into a star. What sent him over the top was an incident where he beat the hell out of Rihanna. Now, look, I don't want people to think that I'm trying to, single out to Chris Brown or anything like that for anything more than just total disregard and sort of like disrespect for the guy, but he beat the hell up out of Rihanna. How is it that this guy has a career? His career took off after he beat the hell out of Rihanna, and you got all these other people who've been implied for sexual misconduct and such that have had their lives completely ruined, their careers completely ruined, where they can't even participate in any cultural practices whatsoever. This is like going back to, Fatty Arbuckle in the early days, where they brought him up on charges for killing a woman at a party, and they dragged out the trial, and the yellow journalistic press came in and just spent months, years, destroying the guy's integrity publicly, and so the trial actually kept being. Fatty Arbuckle lost all of his money and everything like that. He was a notorious lefty, and not only that, but he gave a lot of opportunities to other lefties in the movies that he produced and directed. And what the problem was that he was totally innocent. And I don't know if Cesar Chavez is innocent or not, but I know that he was condemned and relegated to the dustbin of life 2 seconds after his former contemporary protester levied the sexual assault charges at him without any scrutiny of the public whatsoever, without any investigation, and it comes at a very peculiar time when you've got a hardcore press of the government trying to come up with ways that they can dehumanize people of Hispanic heritage and use that as a bit of a smokescreen to ramp up the deportation efforts domestically, which there's going to be a lot of focus taken away from because of the Iranian war. I mean, it's just all coming together so nicely. And I would have believed it in a heartbeat if it would have happened, during a Democratic regime or years ago, before everything got so ramped up and anti-Hispanic fervor had been whipped up into a frenzy by Donald Trump and his fabulous flying circus of sadistic creeps. I don't know. I see immediately within hours they're taking down his name from schools and churches and everything, and community centers and whatnot. That's a lot of. He has not been found guilty. He's dead. There's a woman who's 96 years old who all of a sudden comes out and could easily have been paid off to say what she did. And there's no way to really investigate it. And there's all these other lies and stuff that are coming out, and all these other hateful things that are destroying the integrity of blacks and people of color in our society. Are they going to build a tribute to the many little work camps that they put together for the Japanese during World War II? Is that going to be next? They're going to be like, oh, well, here's the cabin that George Washington got his first blowjob, and here is a picture of the John Wilkes Booth $500 bill or whatever, and here's the from the Confederacy. Here is a doohickey for Cesar Chavez. I don't, and they have all kinds, it's all why he's going against left wingers, isn't it? Where they come out 10 years after Michael Jackson died, they're still coming out with stories about how many rapes he did and all that kind of stuff. Whatever, he's not here to defend himself. He's not here to, settle with the parties out of court. And he can't quash any of the rumors anymore. So maybe we are getting the raw, unfiltered stuff. But it always seems to be the stuff that comes out is a black performer or producer or something of that nature that gets the toughest treatment and gets the media things. And then you get, on the right, you get this glowing movie that makes Dick Cheney look like a human being. Dick Cheney was not a human being. Okay? And this Reagan movie that Dennis Quaid comes out 2 seconds before people are set to go to the polls in 2024, like it's not going to inspire right-wingers to feel that extra warm boost from seeing Dutch in action once again, and validate Dutch, the Gipper, in order to be able to have him make it back in time to vote. And he changed. It's just a bunch of, what the hell am I talking about? Where was I? Chris Brown's career. It's, it's just so much, invariably, like, seeing these people getting away with so much. There's never, how many cases you got against Trump? 5 or something like that? You get Russiagate, but it's not just Russiagate. It's the 30,000 lies that the Washington Post cataloged that he didn't sue them over, which means that they have to be true. Because, all of a sudden you see it in Trump and you're just sort of like, oh, okay, I'll be back as soon as I can. And then, he'll go to Russiagate and, bounces off of him there. And he'll go to New York State where they rule against him on 34 counts. But he doesn't have to pay anything. There's no consequence for it whatsoever. Then he goes to the down south and the complimentary nurse over there gives him a wait a second here. Trump is the thing with the thing and the doohickey. I'm gonna need my gum. Sorry. I'm starting to lose it. Been up all night doing this stuff. 34 counts. Criminal actions by Trump. And nothing, no consequences whatsoever. Then he goes down to the Florida thing, Mar-a-Lago. Supposedly, nobody really knows what were in those documents, those boxes. But it's got to be something really sketchy. Because he refused to turn them over. And what's the big whoop if it's just some regular whatever? Nixon basically got, for the most part, impeached for a 16-second gap on one recorded White House tape. Trump's got boxes and reams of top secret stuff that he's not releasing. And there's nothing, not even the tiniest little slap on the wrist. They don't even go to court. They just dismiss it. It just doesn't exist. You don't get it. It's not, up yours. Then they investigate. The special prosecutor was looking into that, and they try to get him to go to jail. His level of insanity is so profound. And then he's got the thing in Atlanta where they had him dead to rights. He's on the phone talking with somebody. They got a recording of it saying, you got to find me votes. That's immediate Leavenworth. And the lady who was in charge of the investigation decides it's more important for her to bang her own underling. And then people find out. And the case is all over. She's disgraced. The case is over. And then they announced, I think about in the last 6 months, year, something like that, that they've decided not to pursue the case at all. Because they couldn't get it done while Biden was still president. 4 years. Wow, that's not enough to bring a case. When it has to do with the president of the United States not being able to stomach losing a court case against him. And then there was one other one, right? Anyway, it all bounces off him. Every freaking lawsuit bounces off against the rich. These guys, the lawyers, aren't just really lawyers, they're interpreters of a foreign language that they've used to create the laws and the constitutions of this land, so that the enormous average person who picks up any of that stuff on their way to a court date or whatever, and they want to see what's up, they pick it up, they read through it, and they find absolutely numerous different cases against them, all of which were dismissed. Sorry, I'm trying to think of this other one. Oops, pardon me, excuse me. How rude. Chris Brown's career, how do you bounce back off of that? He beat up Rihanna, threw a chair out of a window at Times Square while he was giving an interview. Could have killed someone, severely injured somebody. Nothing, no consequences to that either. You get the Houston Astros stealing the signs to win an actual World Series, and they're like, oh, you know what? This type of thing happens. Be on your way, Houston Astros. Houston Astros should have been banned for life. All of them, the entire team, the coaching staff, maybe even pull their franchise. I mean, that's what they did with the Black Sox back in 1919, I think it was, World Series, where this is where they threw the game so that they would lose. In the case of the Houston Astros, they fought it out and decided, well, you know what, go ahead, go with God, go ahead and just have fun with your little trophy. Who cares? Nobody. The Grammy Awards, when they gave Sam Smith the award for Best Song and Best Record for "Stay With Me," they changed the little decoration thing that they did with the what's the guy's name? Parker Posey. What's that guy? The judge, Chief Justice Reingold? No. Saturday Night Fever. What's that guy's name? Just Paul Rogers, William Rehnquist. John Wetton, the bass player from Roxy Music. What's with me today? John Roberts? I mean, that seems too simple to be right, but it might be John Roberts. Had a mistake in the reading of Obama's oath of office, and so it was invalidated. So in Obama's first inauguration, where first black man to become president of the most racist country in all of history, is inaugurated at this big, huge party with all these people celebrating and taking pictures of their camera and crying, everything. It never really happened. the ceremony that they had in front of the people with all those people and everything like that had was fake, and they had to redo it in the White House afterwards to make it valid. So it's like this big, huge Illuminati something. I mean, this is so diabolical, but I honestly believe that they did something to make sure that the actual inauguration of Obama wasn't transmitted to everybody throughout the land. And that, the real ceremony, there's just one picture of it in the Oval Office while he's taking the oath properly. Ooh. It's just so bad. Number 7, sign language interpreters at press conferences. The top 10 worst random examples of Bulldink. There's 9 million people in this world who starve every year. That's 23,000 people a day. Okay? And there's 480,000 people who die from cigarette-related causes, while these sociopaths at the head of big tobacco companies make money hand over fist by infusing their products with chemicals that make nicotine too impossible to give up, and market to kids even still with bubblegum flavored scented, vape pipes. And we do absolutely nothing about any of that stuff. There are homeless people all over the country who are, living hand to mouth, and there's no money to be able to build them shelters, hardly ever. I mean, and then there's nothing about making healthy and satisfying meals for those who've come on hard times, and yet here we go, paying for sign language interpreters at a freaking news conference. There's money for that. Oh, gee, wow, how wonderful that is. Why don't we have the sign language interpreters interpret this to start each and every one of their press conferences? I'm sorry that they paid me while your children starve, or why you don't get health care, or why you have to wait for 9 hours in an emergency room because nobody has regular health care, so they're forced to go to emergency rooms and make emergency rooms almost impossible to get in for people who are even in a real emergency, and not just using it in lieu of the fact that they can't get insurance. Oh, we'll pay for sign language interpreters. That's so good. How do you live with yourselves? And they're doing it. They're adding these things. It's pure nonsense. And people who are doing this are sellouts. They never intended to operate in a way that was benefiting of or representational for the working classes of this country. They're doing it to whiff the scent of their own bubbling brown sugar as it bubbles up into their nostrils, the fiery scent of true sulfurous pantloaditude. I just don't see why it's even possible that somebody would think that that's progressive-minded thought even. I mean, it's just like all these things that they attribute to lefties and things like that they blame them for, Chuck Schumeritis, if you want to call it, when he's phoning it in all the time, giving up at the worst possible time during the 2025 government shutdown. And it's right before the holidays. He's got them right where he wants them to lower the hammer, and they're seemingly ready to accommodate any type of offer that they would get to, get something what they want, and they cave in. And it's just one thing after another. Schumer promised that after they didn't let in Merrick Garland, that he would block anybody that the Trump set up to the Hill to be nominated and ratified by the Senate for the Supreme Court. And he did none of that. None of that. I mean, they got him in, not just got him in, but got him in real fast. In fact, the Merrick Garland nomination was almost a year before the end of Obama's term, and the what it was that Gorsuch, I think it was, they nominated him like 2 months or something like that before the end of Trump's first term. And I mean, it's just like insane levels of impotence and aggressively malignant behavior towards their own constituencies, especially if you live in a place like Chicago, where they're trying their very best to spend $6 billion on extending an L stop by like 2 miles or something like that, an L train, elevated train, by like 2 miles into an area that's already got two state-run trains called the Metro Line running on either side of it. So they could spend, instead of spending $5 billion on or more, by the way, which they contracted with a foreign company. So the bulk of the work is being done as a foreign national company instead of a local Chicago or American company. And then they got shut down by Trump. And lo and behold, it was, they shut it down for the wrong reasons, but it never should have been a project. It was a 60-year-old project that's sitting around there, and you've got the metro lines on either side. Just add a couple of buses, and you're done. It's done, and a train stop. Instead of $6 billion, you're spending, I don't know, $10 million, something. And they've got vast amounts of track that's getting stale, needs to be replaced, millions upon millions of dollars that need to be done, and yet, for some reason. And I'll tell you what the reason is they are actually on attack. They're attacking the working class, trying to bankrupt all of these cities without having anything to show for it, any usable, necessary infrastructure. They're just doing everything they possibly can to make life absolutely impossible for people who live in Chicago, and the whole city is about to, sort of probably bankrupted forever, and how far off can it be with the incompetence of the mayor's office? How could it possibly even, why would anybody think that's, going to be any better? Chicago and the governor's office is also accused of a lot of tax hikes and things like that. If Chicago goes blue, they've already got a problem in California where there's so many different people running for the Democratic nomination for governor that it's splitting the Democratic vote, and it's in the primaries, it's not the best Republican and best Democrat that get in, it's the top two vote getters. So if the Democrats are splitting the vote, they don't get enough to get into the top two. California goes red. Illinois is on the brink of going red. People can't handle it anymore. It's so bad. And all these people it's not just corruption. It's venal. It's hateful. It's just like absolutely, it's like they're, paid to be self-indulgent and unresponsive and, off in their own world and destroying, all the livability of the Chicago area. Building all these bicycle ramps and stuff like that. Blockages, when only 1% of the people in Chicago own a bicycle, and it's only probably 7 months out of the year, maybe 6, that people can even use a bike in the city because it's so nasty out with the weather, there's no possibility of us ever really having there's a elevated train station in the front area of what they call the Loop here in Chicago, which is the downtown business district. And it's been in disrepair for a number of years, kind of looks shoddy. I don't know in terms of like the safety of the situation and the amount of volume that they do, if any of that was, but they've never issued a press release about that I've seen. But what they have done is they said they're going to rebuild it for $100 million, $200 million, I don't know, some crazy number. And you take a look at the architecture for it, and it looks like it's the freaking the Versailles of freaking train stops. I mean, it's so elaborate. You really think that it's like, Tivoli Gardens or, and it's like, why? Chicago's already broke, by the way. 2026, they were short $1.2 billion in their budget. And so now they're going to spend another, ton of money in order to be able to put up these new. I mean, why don't the bicyclists have to pay for a annual license or city sticker, like all the motorists have to? If we're going to spend so much money and be put out so much and have our lives completely destroyed, at least they can suffer with the rest of us and pay taxes. Number 6, movies being weaponized. Now, movies are weaponized in a variety of ways, immuring us to violence, the body count itself, to immure us to the human, disfigurement that happens with violence, and get us used to it. So, in other words, it's an army recruitment tool. And then you get John Wick, who's also an another type of glorification of violence. And then there's glorification of underage users of drugs. There's glorification of criminality. It's almost like a recruitment film. Godfather is like basically a recruitment film for criminality, where they can't come out and have a help wanted or anything like that for themselves. So instead, they put movies together that make criminals look super cool. Oh, Godfather's so cool. So cool. I'd love to be a Godfather. And so, I mean, that's really what those movies are made for. And, just in the same way that all the movies about, like Rambo's and stuff like that, where he's senselessly murdering a bunch of people in Asia and in the Middle East and stuff like that. It's all sending signals, and Hurt Lockers and your Zero Dark 30s and these other movies that make Americas seem so super cool, and everybody that we're killing, it makes them look like a faceless orphan wannabe, carry a time bomb into an American embassy or something. So they use movies as weapons. They've weaponized the movie industry pretty bad. CGI, weaponizing CGI. We wouldn't have had deep fakes probably for another 10 years if it weren't for, them force feeding movies like Marvel, MCU, and the DCU, and who are these guys with the thing? Polar Expresses and Pixar's. All that stuff was never about creating a new art form of animation and creating bigger, better movie spectacles. It's about getting us to pay for the weaponization of CGI video technology so they can do deep fakes, and we'll pay for the research and development of it. But here's a different one that I saw recently, and I thought, well, I need to add that onto the list. It's the whole idea of go woke or go broke, which is an intended for right-wingers to have a nice pithy little Nazi-style slogan to help increase their hatred and get them to gloat in their omnipresent sort of lofty sense of self, and it's just really, it's sort of pathetic, isn't it? That they just love to see other people suffer. But go woke or go broke, just to get a little bit of equal representation in movies, that people would, gloat over some of them doing poorly at the box office. But did they do poorly because of go woke or go broke? Or did they do poorly because the movies just sucked? I mean, take a look at Lightyear, which was the first one that kind of sticks out for me. Yeah, it had a Buzz Lightyear's partner grows up to be, I think, to have a lesbian wife in a gay marriage. And so there is that element to it, but I mean, if they couldn't have made a worse, less appealing Buzz Lightyear movie in general, even without that piece in it, if they would have tried, because where the Buzz character doesn't even really appear in it. It's this other guy who's like this square, boring, trite, malicious jerk-off that they put together with a totally different outfit, almost totally different outfit. And none of the, I mean, he's not dumb. The Buzz Lightyear that we see in Toy Stories he's an enlightened character by comparison to in the Buzz Lightyear character version of it is an enlightened character versus the original Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story, who's walking around like so full of himself, an egomaniac, but snobbish egomaniac, so into himself and thinking he's all this in a bag of chips, or at least all this, and I think that's what turned off people. I mean, why would anybody want to go see that? Buzz Lightyear is a super entertaining character. A lot of funny witticisms that his stoicism and his commitment to the role, in spite of all the realistic obstacles that he had to kind of blow off in order to feel, to be that, the Buzz Lightyear guy. It's all gone. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle when it comes to why that movie floundered at the box office. Not the DEI thing. And it just sucks. It's a flat movie. It's kind of eh. And, maybe Pixar is kind of losing its luster. It just really doesn't look good. It's dark. Sort of color scheme wise, out in space, a lot of the plot points that it turns around are just stupid, kind of convoluted, high-minded science. They dwell on for too long, and it's just, with the Snow White thing, I mean. Yeah, the Snow White actress seems like a bully, and it feels like, like they're trying to make the most out of their 15 minutes of fame, and antagonistic, and she's like a power ego to them, but the movie's bad. The reimagining of the dwarfs is horrible. The storyline is stale as hell. How can you get more stale than Snow White, right? And you don't have any stars in there. So it's like there's no drawing cards to the movie. Um, uh, it's just unwatchable. The music, unlistenable. That's why the movie sucked. And the same with, what was the other, Ariel. It's just that, and the actress they got to play Ariel is a lizard person. It's kind of creepy looking. She's kind of creepy. They. I don't know what their pronouns are. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be floundering. I don't mean to make light of it. But the fact is that it's difficult to say all this stuff. It's difficult to talk about. And I want to do right by people. People are suffering. People are getting their asses kicked. People are dying in bigger numbers, greater numbers. People being harassed and all kinds of hatefulness because of this stuff. And I'm saying right now, right here, that a lot of the part of it is not because of go woke or go broke. Go woke or go broke is something that they invented in the sub-basement of the NSA Chamber of Horrors, and that they're unleashing intentionally on us in order to be able to divide and conquer us further, to divide lefties against lefties. So now they're subdividing what's left of the lefties into alternate lefty groups. And, they get, there's no reason to think that without the DEI components in these movies that they would have been successful anyway. Because Little Mermaid, please, you're making a live action Little Mermaid? Yuck. Who wants to see it? Nobody. Do they have a bunch of good new songs and stuff like that? Hell no. Do they have an actor with a lead actor with any experience or any name draw or something like that where people will go to it for sure? No. We'll need your credit. Your dreaded credit card is what I was gonna say. These movies would have flopped anyway. They did it intentionally. They came up with let's come up with some cutesy thing to demonize woke, and they're like, oh, go woke or go broke. Let's make a bunch of movies that suck, and we'll blame it on go woke or go broke. Fact of the matter is, there's a lot of things that had very enlightened elements to them that wound up being kick-ass. Everything all together at once and stuff like that. There's others, but it's the fact that that you're using trite, overly stale subject matter that nobody wants to see, and that's what's making these movies fail. Has nothing to do with wokeness or whatever. Number 5 of the top 10 worst random examples of Bulldink: food delivery robots being used to gently get us used to having autonomous robots living amongst us. Now, I think that's an interesting thing that, should be part of the dialectic here. And that's the fact that, the robots, the AI robots are now among us, walking around, hanging out, doing stuff, bringing people food. Isn't that sweet? Oh, you brought me food. Oh, isn't that nice? Would you like us to adopt you and you can become our new stepson? There are people that are out there who are doing this stuff as part of the getting to know you phase, the honeymoon phase, the meet cute of human beings and AI robots. And that's what these little buggers they got rolling all over the place with their food deliveries are meant to establish. I don't know. It seems right to me, but you'll have to make up this. You'll have to figure this one out for yourself, because they're rolling them out like crazy. The other day, Melania's walking out in a press conference with a freaking autonomous robot that's just kind of walking around, and now they're pushing to have the autonomous robots take over for teachers. So they got the ICE maniacs who are taking over for the unionized TSA, so they're going to bust that union. Now they want to bust the teachers' unions all throughout the country with autonomous robots. It's not looking good for the human race, and I don't think that you're going to last much longer, really, to be honest with you. Number 3, top 10 worst brand examples of Bulldink. Wasted money for all kinds of just like ridiculous things tattoos, recreational pets, things I've got for wasted money on. Item number 3, all the flower pots and concrete barriers that they're clogging up all the blue cities and destroying all the small businesses. I think I've talked about this before. 1%, can't remember the name of the magazine, but there's a cycling magazine of some import that has a statistic saying that there's actually less than 1% of the people who live in Chicago actually own bicycles. And again, Chicago is 7th month at best window where people can actually ride bicycles because of the weather. And these things, they create these concrete barricades that have to be shoveled and plowed, and they had to get a second machine because the shovels and plows that they use for street-based plowing are already probably knocking off windows and mirrors because they pushed out where parked cars can actually park. They pushed it away from the curb now by about 5 or 6 feet, which would eliminate the ability to be able to park, but anywhere within inches of ongoing moving traffic. So now you have to step out into traffic in order to be able to get out of your car, because before it was out by the curb, so you would have 4 or 5 feet between you and where the cars are rapidly driving by. But now you've got that all the time. In addition to that, you've also got delivery trucks as well as delivery. Sorry, I fell asleep on that one, didn't I? I tell you, I've been up all night doing these things. It's just crazy. I got to, trying my best. I apologize to all my rabid fans. All the flower pots, concrete barriers, and everything like that, climbing up the blue cities. They got flower pots running down the middle of major arteries in Chicago, clogging up the city. They could have built bike lanes right there in these arteries that they blocked with these giant, huge, 6 feet wide flower pots and embankments that they built that only serve to block drivers' view of oncoming traffic. So when they take a turn into oncoming traffic, they can't see into it, I'm sure it's caused tons and tons of accidents. But in addition to that, it's layered an additional level of congestion where Chicago was already loaded with that type of stuff. They put flower pots on the sidewalks and stuff like that too. They also get now with the concrete barriers for the bikes. Now and they also have embankments. I don't know if that's the word, but they've got concrete curbs that they're building out that jut out into the street. They're supposed to slow people down. There's a term for that too, slowing people down in order to make it safer for pedestrians. Screw the pedestrians, okay? We're going so far out of our way to accommodate pedestrians that, it's basically like causing more accidents just to make these accommodations. And for what? There was no problem with pedestrians who are careful and stuff like that getting hurt in intersections. It's never a problem. They're creating the problem by having it be where these just random crosswalks where they've got situations that and you can't tell all the time when people want to cross the street or if they're waiting for a bus or whatever. It's insane. And people, who knows who's paying attention coming up behind you that might plow into the back of you because they didn't realize that there was somebody that they couldn't see that was getting ready to cross the street. I mean, it's the biggest amount of insanity ever, and it couldn't possibly have been done by politicians who cared about the working class of their cities. And they will lie to you, and they have operatives who and bots or designed specifically to insert themselves into conversations online in threads that they create in order to be able to spread disinformation and hurt people even more. And then they stop. They put in all kinds of tiny little parks and stuff like that. Cutesy little parks. People need more green space. Chicago's got plenty of green space. What we need is the ability to have organically emerging enterprise small business zones, not get blocked by putting a huge park space that nobody needs right in the middle of it that stops all the economic growth on both sides and removes more parking. Number 3, wasted money. Top 10 worst random examples of Bulldink wasting money, again, on tattoos and recreational pets. Tattoos, I don't know why people want to spend money on tattoos. I don't get it. It's clearly, I've missed the boat on this one. I'm grandpa status over here when it comes to that. I think it's just like, I think people maybe have become so accustomed to wearing clothing that operates in the same way as a billboard, where they're, just a walking billboard for Nike, etc. And it's just kind of, they need to be able to internalize the function of being a walking billboard by putting logos onto their skin. I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know why. It's for the gram, get pictures for the gram or for their TikTok so they can get the likes. I don't know. But if people have gotten to be that desperate to be like, please like me, why don't they just go on online and just start begging people for likes, instead of defiling their temple. Not that I want to brag about that. I've clearly defiled my own temple on numerous occasions. I did last Tuesday. I could, during a bumper-to-bumper parking jam on the expressway. Recreational pets. I mean, it's, I get it. You people have no ability to be able to connect with other human beings on an intimate level. And so, a bunch of adults find themselves with recreational pets and simulating unconditional love with whatever it is that a pet experiences, which is not unconditional love. They don't know who you are. A pet, Hitler had a pet, Blondie, his German shepherd, and Blondie loved Hitler, right? Blondie loved Hitler, or appeared to. So here you have the whole problem with pets. It mimics unconditional love, but it has nothing to do with unconditional love because the pets don't have any comprehension of the horrific nature of their masters. It's like an alpha male thing type of whatever. We don't even know what the hell they're really experiencing. It seems to approximate genuine affection, but I don't know. And the fact is that we're not worth it. We got to stop making like these non-priority things. I mean, because there's so much damage that's being done by recreational pets. The plastic that we wrap their doo-doos in is, what they keep complaining about, when it comes to paper or plastic. Well, we had to give up plastic in the goddamn stores and retail situations, even though it's 1,000 times more efficient than paper in terms of, not creating pollution because the paper bags are sprayed with tons of chemicals and made super thick. So they're not any bargain to biodegrade in the landfills, which are now 10 times bigger because of the thicker size of the paper. and the air is 10 times dirtier with more mercury, and more mercury that gets into the food chain because of how many more semi trucks it takes to be able to ship those goddamn gigantic paper bags. What a bunch of idiots you are. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? Why, do you really think that somebody's going to come around and just go like, well, we should go with the plastic bags because they'll be a lot more expensive and less expensive. They figured it out. Commerce figured that one out for you. They were right. Plastic bags, it's the way to go. It's a necessary evil. You can't have billions of people on the goddamn planet Earth without making a little mess. And the least of the mess is the plastic, goddammit. Are you stupid? Who the hell told you that paper was less environmentally impactful than plastic was? It's the Koch brothers who own all the paper goddamn mills and own tons and tons of oil interests. So they're getting a double whammy off you by having more trucking expenses. So we're buying more fuel off of those robber barons, and they own all the paper companies. So they're the ones who are making the bulk of the non-biodegradable paper bags. And if you doubt the veracity of what I'm telling you, go ahead and try to put the canned goods in a paper bag made out of Kleenex. Dumbass. How do you think they get Kleenex to be the paper bag that you can haul canned goods? Your canned asparagus, you rotten jerk. And recreational pets, I mean, how many poops does a dog take in a week? 14? 14 to 20? Maybe, if your dog is a healthy eater. So it's 14 to 20 plastic bags that you're putting into the landfill because you have to have a recreational pet. And then it's even worse with the cats because, well, you don't take it out every day with the little tiny poops of theirs. You have the non-biodegradable freaking kitty litter that's just sitting out there by the ton in landfills. And I don't know what you change it. I haven't had a cat, and so every week you put another 2-3 pounds worth of non-biodegradable kitty litter in a giant, super thick, heavy duty plastic bag, no pun intended, but one that is able to hold all that stuff and haul it to the goddamn garbage chute. And all that stuff is mounting up gigantic landfills. And who knows what kind of toxic stuff is leaking out of that. God forbid, that stuff gets into the water table and causes toxic plasmosis forever and ever. No way to be able to fix it. You'd never be able to fix it if it starts to happen, 10, 15 years from now. And those things start to leak and the water table starts to get infected with it. And who knows? I don't know. But, I can certainly tell you that it's not, environmentally friendly. And people just, because they can't find a way to be even civil with each other. These are part of the, ramifications of not being able to have a civil society. Number 2, the top 10 worst random examples of Bulldink. The fact that Milli Vanilli is the most influential act in music history. I don't care what you say. Zeppelin, Sabbath, Creedence, Clearwater Revival, the Carpenters. Whoever you say is the most influential music act in history, you're wrong unless you're saying it's Milli Vanilli. Because the fact is that now we have acts that are just kind of made up, where they have a couple of people, or soon to be just a couple of CGI characters that don't really exist, don't have anything to do with music, and are really kind of talentless fashion show types who pretend to be an actual performing act as the most influential style of influencing music that there is in the entire music scene these days. They don't need to sing. It's all computerized. It's all a bunch of nonsense and garbage, emotionless, and you all just drink it up like crazy, and you're buying 43 different colored vinyl versions of Dead Poets Department or whatever the hell it is by Taylor Swift. And so you're inviting it upon yourself. You're buying a second version of an album that you're being told is because Tay-Tay had her masters held for ransom by her former manager. So she went ahead and remade her albums. Like, that's something that can happen. And you're like going like, well, that's okay. That's great. Let's buy another copy. Yeah. Merchandise and whatever. Why do you support something like that? Why do you allow yourself to be taken for a ride? P.T. Barnum said there's a sucker born every minute, but it would have to be a lot more suckers than once a minute for the amount of suckers that we've got. It's, 350 million freaking people in this country or whatever the hell. In order for that to be that many people, you'd have to probably have, about a dozen suckers born every minute or more. Number one of the top 10 worst examples of random examples of Bulldink in the thing. Billionaires prepping the human race for genocide. AI robots, baby. It's the catch the flavor wave. They're coming. You got nothing to put up against it. I love the news stories that they've been floating out there that that kids, college age kids shouldn't go to college or bother learning any of the high level function types of majors and such, and instead should go to trade school, and that will make them give them a job that won't be able to replace them so early. So they're telling people to be stupid. Don't get an education. Don't get a higher level education. It's going back to where the folks were that used to be prideful of the fact that their kid was the first one in the family ever to go to college. I think that's more or less like a lost art. Going to college, trying to dumb us down in a new way by getting us to go to trade schools, getting kids to go to trade schools, and they'll never have the well-rounded. My gum made another guest appearance there. Experiential knowledge, book smarts, and all the various different types of things that can create higher level learning. I mean, we're just getting slaughtered. We're already so dumb already. Fifth grade reading level on average in the United States, and now they're telling kids not to go to school, not to get as much learning as they can, not be as smart and wise, and have informed as they could be. Instead, go to trade school, learn how to change a tire, and that'll be the highest level goal that you can have. What the hell does that say for what they got coming up for the world? If all the other jobs are going to get replaced other than trade jobs, there are going to be, I don't know, heads to roll. But hey, look, that's all the time I got for top 10 worst stuff. I'm sorry I've been so out of it today. I just can't. I mean, this is. I'm trying real hard here to be able to get these done before I get debilitated too badly, and so I'm stocking up, as they say. But it's what a pleasure it's been to at least try to do one of these. Before I leave, I just want to make sure that everything I've said here is just a bunch of opinions, just things that I, struck me as being truisms, but, only in my eyes. I encourage anybody who's got any questions about any of this stuff, if they want to reach out. I'd love to be able to debate on stuff like this. Sometimes I can, sometimes I really can't. But I'd love to be able to have just a tiny little debate, nothing too serious, with as little, sort of threatening behavior as possible. But I have, just the best, I think, solution for everybody involved is do your own thing, man. Do your own. It's not hard. And look, a person with a 5th grade, whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching.